relations, marketing, and social media in healthcare requires making the right moves at the right time. Welcome to the Overrated and Underused Show. Here's your hosts, experienced marketers Jennings and Testa, with special guest Adrian Stoner. Overrated and underused. The Overrated and Underused Show.
Welcome, everyone, to Overrated and Underused. We are Tom and Jen, as we are every month with you here on Healthcare Now Radio. Jen, happy June.
Happy June. Not only are we Tom and Jen, though, we are award-winning Tom and Jen.
Oh, look at you. Jumping right to it. Yes, we are. Yes, we are, Jen. We are. Well, go ahead. Do you want to tell our listeners what kind of award-winning we are?
Well, everyone's favorite radio show, Overrated and Underused, was just awarded the Health IT Podcast of the Year from HITMC.
I know. This is it was exciting. We were just announced winners last month in May in Foxborough, Mass at the HITMC conference. And it was a great honor. I mean, obviously we were very surprised and quite honestly grateful no one else was in the category with us, right? So, I mean, we beat off dozens of radio shows. So are you kidding me? But no, in all seriousness, it is a great honor and a shock, I mean, but it goes to, I think, show the great stuff that we're hopefully putting out there that, listeners are tuning in and our peers, right? That's what's great about it. Our peers, fellow podcasters and radio show hosts and marketers all agree that we're putting out some pretty good stuff, Jen.
I mean, we already knew we were, but to have other people say that.
Kind of once in a lifetime kind of things, because, this is not stuff with all we work hard. There's a lot of competition out there and shows are getting better. More shows are hitting the airwaves. So it was, again, I know I've said it about 10 times, but it's a great honor. And yeah, looking forward to more good things here on the ONU radio show.
I could not have said it better myself. Tell us about the event.
Yeah. So, normally I know it's something that you're there with us and, you were taken away to some faraway island instead, working on that amazing tan. So while you're getting your tan on, we were at the HITMC event. It was a great event. And, I was thinking about this too. I think it's been 3 years since everyone in that kind of community of healthcare IT marketers was able to get together, right? I think the last in-person show was May of 2019, and it was in Boston.
Again, usually it's not in the same location, but that's just
right.
Kind of how all that worked out. But if we have not said it yet, HITMC, for those that don't know, is the Health IT Marketing Conference. So specifically a lot of, healthcare marketers from agencies, vendors, providers, just kind of the whole spectrum of healthcare really get together to look at the ways in which, we're marketing and promoting companies and products and kind of new ways of doing those. So it's a great event. I was so sad to miss it.
And yeah, like you had said, it was all these healthcare IT marketing colleagues all got together, and the vibe was certainly hey, it's great to be back together again in person and networking and sharing ideas. I think there were some new faces there, which was great. And of course, this is the brain trust of John Lynn and Colin Hung, who are also Healthcare Now Radio colleagues as well. And they're the ones, obviously behind Healthcare IT Today and a bunch of other outlets as well. So, but again, they pulled together a great event and some great sessions, everything across the board, from getting a Twitter account set up in 15 minutes to, a great media panel, to a great podcast panel, to even a very interesting panel that I was able to introduce the speaker for on basically setting up, your marketing shop, where you have kind of separating a bit from product marketing and then lead gen marketing, and not kind of blending them together. And he was able to talk about how his organization split those apart and really became a more efficient marketing shop that way too. So a lot of good stuff. I'm looking forward to next year.
Yeah, it's definitely for anybody that's in the world of healthcare marketing, healthcare communications. It's worth checking out.
Yeah.
And not just the conference, but all year long. I think they put out some good content from all of us kind of in the industry. And, certainly there's no shortage of resources and tips out there on, how to do marketing well and all of this. But what I really love about this is healthcare specific, healthcare focused, which just as we all know, it is kind of just a different beast in itself. So really enjoy learning from everybody kind of in that space. So
yeah, that's a good point.
I guess we should just get into our actual show topic.
What are we talking about today, Jen? Talk to us.
We are going to talk about some serious cloak and dagger hijinks.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Now that I have your attention.
Right.
Competitive research. So partially joking about the cloak and dagger. We're not really like insinuating that anybody should, engage in corporate espionage, but I think for the most part, healthcare really isn't as like cutthroat as some other industries. Yeah. But I do think there is some level of competitive research that's necessary for all companies to be doing regularly or just at kind of like different intervals, just to see kind of how they stack up against the competition and, where they can improve or, where they might shine, and never hurts to go that route.
Yeah, no, I mean, with our agency hats on, we are often asked to do, competitive research because, again, it can lend itself to folks thinking, okay, so, hey, where are my competitors getting news pickup? What kind of products are they launching? And, there's a lot that gets into it, and we'll dive into it. But this is something that our clients seem to value. And I think we try and get this to our clients maybe annually. Everyone likes or a 6-month check-in on, hey, where am I competitively across media pickup or social media or this or that. And like I said, we'll get into it, but I think there's a lot of value here for a lot of our clients and maybe those of the organizations that our listeners are part of.
Yeah. And so when we're talking about competitive research from our aspect, a lot of top execs or sales teams, are going to be heavily focused on more of the competitive viability. Mm-hmm. They might run SWOT analysis and measure how their products and services stack up against their competitors, new pricing strategies or features or, reviews or, feedback, kind of all of those things. So that's not what we're talking about. What we're wanting to, when we're talking about the marketing competitive research, where we're evaluating the success that a company's competitors are having on their PR, marketing, communications aspects. So like you said, like how does their media coverage stack up? Like where are they being covered? How often? How engaging are their social media accounts?
Right.
How compelling or user-friendly is their website? Like what are their messaging pain points? And, how active are they at conferences? What conferences are they going to? How frequently are they sending out, marketing emails? All of those kind of aspects are something that, you can easily look at from an outside perspective, just to see where your company is.
That's right. Yep. And if not, you just resort to espionage. I mean, that's, I think, what we're getting to, but you're right. It's something that a lot of the executive levels of folks at organizations, as you said, really like to kind of get their hands around and a good knowledge of what's happening with their competitors. So, there are a couple aspects. We can go through this and see what we think here. But I think in our opinion, Jen, competitive research, as we've conducted it, helps organizations, for one, better understand their market, all about trends. One is the direction of your healthcare specialties, products, your solutions, and also, of course, you get into some of the latest buzzwords too within your market, whether it's, we could probably have just a show on buzzwords and hashtags and, so, but to your point, right, that's exactly why it helps you better understand your market and what those are doing around those buzzwords, your competitors doing around those buzzwords and some of the trends that they're involved with as well. So,
yeah, definitely that's a big one. Also, probably looking at how you can improve your marketing, seeing a shift of your customers or potential customers to competitive options. Like, is there price differences? Like, what is that driving force that would be causing that? Marketing could be a part of that, but also, it could be a number of factors. Definitely the market perception and what that story is telling to prospective customers could give a lot of insights into that, or, and really let you have the opportunity to how you can shift your marketing to really combat that.
Yep. Agreed. And then also, I think too, another factor that competitive research can help and impact is also identify market gaps. which is good. I mean, that's something that I think is mindful of a lot of marketing executives and their leadership at their organizations. It can help you understand other marketing tactics that are being underutilized. Something we talk about all the time here on O&U,
underused.
Right? So which are they? What are they? Fill those gaps. Are there tactics that are being underutilized? And why are competitors attending different healthcare conferences and being picked up in different publications than you? That kind of goes back to some of the other stuff we talked about. But why? Why are there gaps there? Why are they getting selected for speaking options? Are they instead of a CEO, are they pitching maybe someone with a medical title or a customer, right? Versus just, if you're just sitting there trying to continuously put out leadership, or maybe they prefer a provider voice on the speaking circuit. Same thing on the coverage. And again, we've talked about this before.
Yeah. You don't always want to just replicate what a competitor is doing. Right. Really just having an understanding of what they are, where they are in the marketplace, where they're getting out there, what conferences, what publications, what they're saying on social media. Having that awareness, isn't the same thing as just copying them. It's more just having a competitive understanding and then building the strategy that works for you around that. So yeah, if 3 of your competitors are attending this same conference and you've never even thought about it, right, maybe it is something that you want to look into and learn more about and see if that does work for your business. So there is ways to kind of understand those gaps in your marketing.
That's right.
I think it also, definitely helps you plan for the future.
Right.
Really just how can you adjust any strategic marketing plan to, really just do better than you've done before. So kind of exceed your performance. It's not about just copying them. It's about finding ways to kind of step ahead of those strategies and find what works for you.
Yeah. And I think, again, like you said, planning for the future, competitive research can really impact that. Like you said, not just about adjusting your strategic marketing plan, but again, I think it keeps the fire going too when you have competitiveness. There's some big competitors out there and you're watching them because they're continuously wanting to innovate and evolve. And I think it also helps plan future innovation and evolution of tactics and products and who knows, even maybe organizational structure. Hey, our competitor there just hired a chief medical officer. Is that something we should look into or something like that? You never know. So again, I think those are some of the avenues that, competitive research may aid in helping plan for future initiatives.
All right. Well, if you are just tuning in, you're listening to Overrated and Underused on Healthcare Now Radio. Today's episode is on competitive research. So I feel like we've talked about all the ways in which, competitive research makes sense and why you should do it. But I think that the next step is really, how do you do it? What actually goes into the aspects of competitive research? So maybe let's talk about some of that.
I like it. Let's do it. But hey, before we get into it, did you hear we're Health IT Podcast of the Year award winners?
Should we just say that every 5 minutes?
Isn't repetitiveness, isn't that one of the R's in messaging? We
have to subliminally put it in there.
Exactly.
You're listening to the Health IT Podcast of the Year.
Whoa, that's right. I think we have to
I gotta add that at the break.
We do. That's right. But yes, okay. All kidding aside, we're going to get into some specifics here, right? Is that what you want to talk about, Jen?
I want our listeners want the specifics.
All right. So what are some ways that we actually get into competitive analysis? Well, one way, how about check out and evaluate their online presence? That's an obvious, right?
Mm-hmm. Easy.
I give you, I'm the CEO and I say, oh, Jen, we need to and then you're going to say, I think I'm going to go check out their website and see what they're all about and what are they doing, and specifically what kind of content are they publishing on their site? Do they have a newsroom? And of course it gets into their media coverage. Are they publishing, again, like we said, what content publishing, but specifically, do they have a blog? Do they have a podcast?
They do not have a Health IT Podcast of the Year.
Probably not. Nice try. And then a bunch of other things.
You're our competitor.
That's true, right? We got to do an analysis of this. Wait a minute. Note to self. And then do they have other things like customer stories, videos, newsletters? So there's a bunch of things, right, that you want to look at and see how robust is their website? Is this a content hub in some way? Is this just listing out products or is it all the above? So that's one way to start.
Yeah. And I think, looking at what they have is kind of like the first tier of that, but also how up to date is it? Like how frequently are they posting? Like, is it strong content? So kind of diving deeper into, did they just create a blog and their last post was from 2017? Was their last press release from 2019? Like finding out those types of things is important details of your analysis too.
That's a good point, right? Because you, especially some, and there may be individual aspects of the site, like you were saying too, like they could have this blog. Oh my goodness, they have a blog and we don't. But oh wow, their last post was 6 months ago, or or hey, this is just kind of their blog looks like a little bit of a news dump. It's not really a blog per se. There's not, not written either, but in the voice of an executive from the organization or anything real media, any thought leadership. It could just be kind of a content dump. So yeah, you're right. That also would certainly play into how impressive or how impactful a competitor's content can be.
Yeah, I think another thing to look at is, next step would say you went to their website, checked out everything. That's definitely first step.
Yep.
Then migrate to the social media. What channels are they on? What are their follower numbers like? How strong is their content? What's the frequency of their content? Are they doing any social advertising? So those are the type of things you'd want to look at there.
And I'd add too, and I know you definitely have a lot more knowledge of social than I do, but for me, I like to just also peek at some of those actual followers to see who they are. I mean, if someone has 5,000 followers, I'm clearly not going to see them all, but sometimes the real juicy ones are at the top, I feel, of their follower list. Like, oh, okay. Oh, I see a bunch of check marks there. And so I like to kind of see also the quality as well as the quantity of their followers, if I can.
Yeah. And just looking at like who they are following too. Are they, because that may be, one of those things where, if they're following 100 people or 100 other accounts, what are the ones that, they think are the most important? So, maybe it's associations that you've never heard of. Maybe it's, influencers that you really weren't aware of, or, obviously if they're following everybody under the sun, then it's a little harder to understand their priorities. But if it's a small select few, then that gives you insight into how your competitor is kind of looking at the market and their priorities. I guess I would also look at, what events they're attending. So, that might be on their website, or it might just be, as a simple Google search. If you are able to see the events, what booth sizes are they buying? Are there different sponsorships? Like, are they speaking at events? Because usually those speaking engagements are the easiest thing to find, because if they do have, a role in something like that, it's more likely that that's being promoted. And so that's going to be easier to find online.
True. Yep.
And then of course, going to the good old Google.
Oh boy. Search engines. You're gonna start talking about rankings, aren't you? Search engine rankings. Jennifer.
Do you want me to stop?
No, keep going. I want you to educate me on this very underrated aspect of competitive research. I had to get it in there somehow.
So yes, you should look at where are your competitors ranking on their search engine. So main keywords, like the keywords that are important to you and your market, are they outranking you? And what type of content is it? Is it their website? Are they buying the ads for those keywords? Or is it they're featured in articles for those keywords? And so that's where they're outranking you. So that's and that's not easy. I mean, that's kind of a labor intensive process to look through a lot of keyword searches. And I mean, that changes. So that's not something that you just want to check one time and that's the end all be all. So that's more of like a check it now, check it again 3-6 months from now, a year from now, whatever it may be. But I think those are important aspects on there. And, are there any customer review sites that they're a part of? And so I think that Google searching will tell you a lot, just, things that you may not have even thought to look at just by searching for competitors.
Right. And those are obviously some great tactics on the competitor side and where you should look. But I think we'd probably both agree that you should be simultaneously doing this for your own organization as well, in all of these areas that, we just broke down. right?
Definitely.
So you want to see how you stack up across content, SEO, industry events. Where are you? Like, how are you engaging with your target audiences potentially on social, or just spreading the good word about your organization? So yeah, because that's key. Because I think sometimes, folks, I mean, obviously it's going to yield to you eventually. All roads will lead back to your stuff. But I think at the same time, I think it's good to set a baseline for where you think you are with your own, let's say your website, your own organization to start before you get out there. And because you're going to see a lot of stuff across all these competitive sites, but you might not necessarily need all that stuff too.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's not super easy to find all the information that you're looking for, but I think you just do your best. There is a lot of information out there. We talked about the website, social media, all that readily accessible places. You can also, there's no harm in subscribing to their email or newsletter list, or listening to their podcasts, or reading their blogs, and finding out the ways in which they kind of interact and influence customers. If they have a very intuitive email program, you may not actually get all the things, but
right.
They may be smarter and not send you everything, but there certainly is no harm in doing that, I think.
Well, Jen, all good stuff. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like you're someone who loves to give tips. Give folks, I feel like you're just like the tip queen. Talk to us about like some of the tips you can give our listeners about kind of getting started on some of this too, because it's going to be, it could be overwhelming. You may say, oh gosh, where do I start? I've got 10 competitors, or I've got, all these sites to go through. So how, any tips are helping make things a little easier?
No. No, I think, I think one thing to keep in mind definitely is that, as you're looking through this, the answers to everything will kind of like immediately tell you how you stack up against competitors. But, there may be reasons why there's dramatic differences in metrics, and you don't really know like the back end. You might see what they're sending out on their email list, but you don't know who's actually engaging with that and whether they're getting click-throughs and stuff, all of that. So you can get the outside perspective, but that is just one perspective. So I think, being open to the setting, hey, this is more just painting a picture, and versus, hey, this is where everything is, this is where the market, here's where we stand. We may be way stronger and we may be getting, crushing them in media placements, but maybe their social media followers are, more robust, or that just may be the focus for their organization. So my advice and my tip would be not to immediately change any of your plans to match your competitors, but to really just use it as a guide in how you build your strategic planning, kind of like keeping it in mind, but not necessarily this is the guide, this is the blueprint, this is how we should do it. It's more just, hey, this is just kind of FYI, this is what other people are doing, this is what their focus is, but could be a million other reasons why they're not doing the media coverage. They may not have good executives. They may want to do that, but they just can't, or they may have, there could be a million reasons. So that's my tip.
Well, I too have a tip here, Jennifer, for our listeners when it comes to competitive research. And I'm going to tell you this. I like to let the competitors do the work for me. That's right. I'm lazy. So what I like to do is I'll sign up for their email and newsletter lists, subscribe to their podcasts and blogs, have the stuff come to your inbox, follow them on social. So again, I like to see a lot of that content, especially when it comes to newsletters. If they have one, it's great because, it's actually a culmination, right? It's of a bunch of things from their site. It's coverage. Sometimes it's thought leadership, it's events, so that's my very quick tip. I guess I'm a lazy researcher of competitiveness, but of competitive research, but I do think that is a really good tip, because you can easily sign up for their newsletters or like you said, the feeds for their podcasts or blogs or anything like that, and have it delivered right to your inbox. So I think that helps monitor things more of an ongoing basis than having to go maybe put a calendar invite or something, a meeting invite in your calendar saying, oh, it's the 30th of the month. I want to go check my competitors. Signing up for some of this stuff helps you get it in real time. So there it is.
All right. Well, I know every month we like to wrap everything up in a nice, neat bow in our 26-minute time slot. But it just does not look like it's going to happen for our competitive research topic. I think we have really only scratched the surface, and we'll have to save some of our insights and tips on how to go about doing competitive research for next month's episode. Thanks to all our listeners today for joining us for this HITMC award-winning Health IT Podcast of the Year.
I see what you did there.
We are sponsored by Anderson Interactive and can be heard weekdays at 10 a.m., 6 p.m., and 2 a.m. Eastern on Healthcare Now Radio. And a reminder, we are always looking for brilliant marketers to join us. We're not brilliant. You don't have to be that brilliant, actually. Tom's here.
We just want great marketers. We just want to hear from you.
We just want marketers.
That's it.
To join us for an upcoming episode of Outside Insight segment. So are you a healthcare marketer at a corporation, agency, provider, and want to join us for a future episode? We would love to hear from you. You can reach us at hello@andersoni, that's the letter I.com, or tweet us at Jen_Jennings, Tom_Testa, or Adrian_Stoner. And check us out with the hashtag #OverUnderRadio.
Thanks for listening to the Overrated and Underused Show with your hosts, experienced marketers Jen Jennings and Tom Testa, and special guest Adrian Stoner. Overrated.